I recently returned from a 2-week trip to Japan. It was an experience both exhilarating and exhausting, eye-opening and mind-bending, confounding and illuminating. Traveling to a place so simultaneously similar to and utterly different from my home left me pondering life's big questions, our shared humanity across cultures, and the multitude of ways there are to see and be in the world. I returned home changed, perhaps in subtle ways, but undeniably so. Allow me to share some reflections and life lessons from my Japanese journey. Lesson 1. There is more than one way to live. To the average Western mindset, Japan can seem an utterly foreign land. The hyper-dense cities, the perplexing lack of public trash cans, the vending machines on every corner hawking everything from hot coffee to cake in a can. But beyond these quirky surface differences lies a cultural gulf. In Japan, social harmony and collective well-being take precedence over individual desires. People are unfailingly polite, conflict avoidant, reluctant to stand out. Complaining is frowned upon. Uniformity and playing one's prescribed social role are prized. To my American sensibilities, conditioned to prioritize personal freedom and being yourself, above all, it was jarring. But it also sparked the realization the Western way is not the only way. There are other viable life philosophies, other frameworks for how to structure a society. Not better or worse necessarily, but fascinatingly different. Lesson 2. Efficiency has its virtues. Japan's urban infrastructure makes the US look third world by comparison. The subway system is a marvel of efficiency, spotless, safe, running like clockwork. Distances that would take hours by car can be traversed in mere minutes. At rush hour, white-gloved attendants literally shove people into crowded cars to eliminate wasted space. It's dehumanizing yet undeniably effective. Above ground, the streets teem with purposeful foot traffic. In 2 weeks I don't think I heard a single blaring car horn. The overall feeling is of a place where everything has been carefully designed to keep the many gears of society spinning frictionlessly. It made me ponder the beauty of efficiency and how much smoother and less stressful life could be if we prioritized the flow of the collective over catering to individual whims. Lesson 3. Convenience is nice. To anyone coming from a car-centric US suburb, being able to walk a few steps in any direction to find virtually anything needed will be a revelation. Vending machines, 7-Elevens, noodle shops, karaoke bars, massage parlors, are all effortlessly interwoven into the urban fabric. No sprawling parking lots or vacant sidewalks. In densely packed cities, all of life happens at street level in a dizzying cacophony of sights, sounds and smells. And it's all so easy. Need an umbrella? A quick snack? Toiletries? A haircut? No problem, it's steps away, 24/7. I see this radical convenience and wonder why we can't replicate it more in the States beyond a few hyper-dense urban cores. Life is just easier and more vibrant when daily needs are always within arm's reach. Lesson 4. Cleanliness requires effort. Japan is uncommonly clean and orderly, almost sterile. Litter is virtually non-existent despite the befuddling lack of public trash receptacles. People just carry their trash with them, sometimes all day, until they can properly dispose of it. There's a level of respect for shared spaces and a self-discipline around cleanliness that's frankly unimaginable in the US. It made me realize how much we prioritize personal convenience over collective responsibilities. In Japan, the burden of keeping things clean falls on the individual. In the US, we expect someone else to clean up the messes we leave in our wake. It's a starkly different mindset. Lesson 5. Aesthetics matter. From the elegant silhouettes of Buddhist temples to the artful presentation of even humble vending machine snacks, the Japanese place a high value on aesthetics and attention to detail. Things don't just need to be functional, there is a cultural imperative that they should also be beautiful. This manifests in a kind of joyful obsession with packaging, ritual, and presentation. In Japan, how you do something matters as much as what you do. A tea ceremony isn't just about the tea, but about the painstakingly choreographed preparation. A gift wrapping is as important as the gift itself. Coming from a culture that prioritizes speed, size, and getting the most for your money, this focus on beauty and ritual is both alien and enticing. It made me realize how much aesthetic nourishment our slapdash Western way of doing things fails to provide. Lesson 6. Service isn't servitude. In the US, service workers tend to operate on a tipping culture of mercenary hospitality, edged with subtle resentment. In Japan, the serve the customer ethos is strong but rooted in a deep cultural pride and respect both for one's station and for those being served. Service is viewed as an honor and obligation, not a burden. From this perspective, a lowly vending machine stocker or subway worker approaches their role not with apathy or shame but with a quiet dignity. The lesson: you can find honor and meaning in any work if your lens allows and encourages it. Lesson 7. High-context cultures are highly efficient. Japan is a classic, high-context culture, where communication relies heavily on implicit understandings and shared assumptions versus direct explication. People speak volumes while saying very little. To an outsider, it can be maddening. What does a smile or a curt nod actually mean? But for those operating within the culture, the efficiency is stunning. When everyone is attuned to the same subtle social wavelengths, a whole lot of information is conferred instantly and automatically without the need to spell everything out. The American approach, while ostensibly more direct, suddenly feels clumsy and laborious by comparison. Of course, the downside of high-context communication is that outsiders are always playing catch-up. But when it works, it really works. Lesson 8. We're all more similar than we think. For all the cultural differences, what struck me most were the moments of unexpected familiarity. A dad playing with his laughing kids in a Tokyo park. Salarymen loosening their ties over after-work beers and yakitori. Grannies gossiping on a train. Teens scrolling their phones with bored expressions. These little moments of life as usual felt so similar to back home despite being 6,000 miles away. They served as reminders that beneath our varied external trappings lie the same basic human needs, desires, and dramas. We're all just humans making our way through this confusing, beautiful world as best we can. Cultural programming runs deep, but our underlying source code is the same. Lesson 9. Local cuisine is the ultimate travel experience. For me, the deepest, most visceral way to experience a culture is through the food. In Japan, meals are an art form. From impossibly fresh sushi to steaming ramen to street vendor takoyaki, grilled octopus balls, every bite opens up a portal into the Japanese ethos. The obsession with freshness, the precision, the intricacy, the quirky sense of humor and creativity, it's all on the plate. And there's no substitute for eating it in its natural habitat. Ramen will never be the same back home. The lesson: if you really want to understand a place, eat as the locals eat. Let your taste buds be your guide. Lesson 10. Being illiterate is really hard. Not speaking or reading Japanese beyond one or two basic phrases, I was functionally illiterate most of the trip. Unable to decipher signs, menus, even the buttons on toilets. It was humbling and exhausting to navigate life without words to guide me. It gave me immense sympathy for what immigrants and refugees with language barriers must contend with every day. The mental load of not understanding your surroundings is immense. Privilege is not having to deal with that friction. It's an empathy lesson I hope to carry with me. Lesson 11. Time off isn't time wasted. In the US, vacation often feels like a hassle or an indulgence, something to be maximized to the hilt. In Japan, time off is part of the natural rhythm of life, as essential as sleep. People don't seem to agonize over optimizing their leisure time. Relaxation isn't a to-do list. Coming from a culture that treats busyness as a badge of honor, it was a needed reminder that rest isn't frivolous. It's part of what makes us human. Time spent doing nothing is never time wasted. Often, it's the very thing that gives life savor and meaning. Lesson 12. Home is pretty great. As amazing and eye-opening as the trip was, returning home felt like a full-body exhale. For all my grousing about life in the States, being away made me realize how many things I appreciate about home that I take for granted. Wide open spaces, diversity, casual friendliness, a lack of existential crowding, rules and regs that make sense to my Western brain. Japan dazzled and beguiled me, but it also made me see my own country through fresh, more appreciative eyes. The old maxim is true: there's no place like home, even when home is highly imperfect. And so after 2 weeks of sensory overload, profound realizations, and stumbling my way through the land of vending machines, polite bows, and inscrutable social graces, I returned to the familiarity of everyday life with a head full of insights and a suitcase full of exotic Kit Kat flavors. I was ready to sleep for a week, to eat a greasy burger, to stop bowing reflexively at everyone I met. But I was also deeply grateful. Grateful for the experience of peeking into an alternative cultural universe. Grateful for the joys and creature comforts of home that I'd never quite appreciated before. And most of all, grateful for the big, messy, diverse, endlessly surprising world we all share. The truth is, you don't have to go to Japan to experience a new perspective. But you do have to leave the comfort of your familiar mental zip code once in a while. To make a good faith effort to see through other eyes, walk in other shoes, even if just for a bit. It's a muscle we could all stand to exercise more often. 12 lessons, countless memories, one stamp-filled passport, and a jet-lag hangover later, I feel a touch wiser. A skosh more attuned to my place in the cultural fabric of humanity. Still very much a product of my Western programming, but with a few new codes jostling around my mental operating system. Japan, domo arigato gozaimasu. You've changed me for good. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to the nearest vending machine. I have a sudden craving for a haichu and a tall boy asahi. Kampai to seeing the world through sake goggles once in a while. It does a soul good.